Hello, everybody. It's rightly said that prevention is better than cure. And that's what we are going to talk about regarding dental caries. And those of you who've come for the first time on this channel, there are 4 more lectures on caries. Do go ahead and watch them. So let's go ahead with this one. Different steps can be taken for caries prevention. The first one is patient education. It involves educating the patient to the harm caries can cause and motivating him to take steps to prevent that harm from occurring. Then there are measures to improve the tooth resistance. It involves different techniques which can be employed to increase the resistance of the tooth from caries attack. Then next is plaque control measures. It involves mechanical methods and chemical methods. Now these are the methods which can be used to prevent plaque from accumulating on the tooth surface. Finally, it's the diet modification. Now the diet of the patient is assessed and it is seen that whether the diet is harming the patient or not. And in case it's harming, it has to be modified accordingly. Now we'll do each one of these steps in details. The first step is patient education. Now this can be achieved through education charts, models, tapes, movies, etc. Now the main motive behind this is to inform the patient regarding the disease, motivate the patient to change their lifestyle, and finally guiding them into action. And when we use pictorial aspects like models and tapes, we are able to convince the patient more. Next is maintaining a diet diary. Now this particular diary can help the patient to reduce his sugary intake, his between meal snacking, and to enable him to modify his lifestyle. Next is using disclosing agents. Now what are these? Now disclosing agents, they are chemical substances that stain the plaque and making it visible on the enamel. They can be directly applied on the tooth surface or patient may be asked to rinse with them. This is a picture of a patient who has used disclosing agent. Believe me, when you can see plaque visually stuck to your teeth, it is not a pleasant sight. And that is the main purpose of disclosing agent. That is to make the patient conscious of the deposits on his teeth. Also, they help in estimating the oral hygiene status of the teeth. What is the basic status? In this case, it is not that bad. Anteriorly, you can see it's pretty clean. And then thirdly, the patient can independently evaluate the effectiveness of the oral hygiene procedures that he is performing at home. Now, measures to improve the tooth resistance. The resistance of the tooth can be increased by using fluorides, sealants, and preventive resin restorations. Now, we'll do each one of these individually. Coming first to fluorides. Now, fluoride is essential for tooth formation and development. And this fluoride, it is found easily in ingested food and water. So it's pretty simple. And certain food products form a rich source of fluoride like salmons and sardines, which are fish product, tea, rock salt, and so on. However, one should remember it's only water that can be naturally or mechanically fluoridated. And it is the single most important source of fluoride because this particular fluoride in drinking water gets absorbed directly. An ideal fluoride concentration required in water is 1 part per million. Coming to mechanism of action, fluoride makes the enamel resistant to dissolution by bacterial acids by the formation of hydroxyapatite to fluorapatite. Now this fluorapatite, mind you, is very resistant to bacterial acids. Then it increases the rate of post-eruption maturation of tooth. You see, when a tooth erupts, there are certain hypomineralized areas on the tooth surface. Now this fluoride, it increases the rate of remineralization of these hypomineralized areas. Then it causes remineralization of the incipient lesions. Now if there is a carious lesion which is initial, now if fluoride present will cause remineralization of this initial lesion. Then it interferes with the metabolism of plaque microorganisms and by inhibiting the bacterial enzymatic processes which are involved in the carbohydrate metabolism. And in high concentration, fluoride is bactericidal, and in low concentration, fluoride is bacteriostatic. And the methods of delivery of fluoride, how do we give this fluoride? There are two methods. One is systemic fluoride and others is topical fluoride. Systemic is that in which we ingest the fluoride, and topical is which we apply onto the surface of the tooth. Now we'll discuss each of these. Coming first to systemic fluorides. Now these fluorides can be given to the patient in the form of fluoride drops, tablets and oral rinses. The fluoride compounds used are sodium fluoride and acidylated phosphate fluoride. Now these are the different concentrations of fluoride which can be used in each of these. The next is community water fluoridation. This is one of the most popular methods of providing fluoride to the people, and the fluoride content used is 1 part per million. Then salt fluoridation. The concentration of fluoride used is 200, 250 or 350 milligram per kg of salt. Then there is milk fluoridation, and the fluoride compounds used here are sodium fluoride, calcium fluoride, disodium monofluorophosphate, disodium silicophosphate, and the concentration of fluoride used is 5 to 15 ppm. I hope you followed this. Coming next to topical fluoride methods. Now the method of application here is two types. It can be either professionally applied or self-applied. Professionally applied includes aqueous solutions and gels of fluoride, which can be used by paint-on technique, which is also known as Knudsen technique. Then you can use fluoridated prophylactic pastes. You can use foam-based gels, fluoride varnishes like Durafat, and fluoride in dental materials, which can be used in GIC very popularly. Self-applied includes fluoride gentrifiers, that means in toothpaste, fluoride in dental floss, fluoride in toothpicks, fluoride in chewing gums, fluoride in mouth rinses, then intraoral slow releasing devices, which include copolymer membrane device or fluoride glass device. Now these are the various methods by which we can apply fluoride topically on the surface of the teeth. Pitt-and-Fisher sealants is a next method of improving the tooth's resistance to decay. Now come to the occlusal surfaces of the posterior teeth. Now you can see that the occlusal surfaces of posterior teeth is very uneven due to the presence of cusps, foci, pits and fissures. And some occlusal fissures like these, they show varied or different morphology. Now they can be T-shaped, very thin and narrow. They may be Y-shaped like this, or U-shaped or V-shaped. Now because of these varied morphologies, these are very prone to food impaction, hence bacterial action. Now to prevent that, we use Pitt-and-Fisher sealants. Now what are these sealants? Their sealants are basically acid-resistant resin compounds. And these sealants, they mechanically fill pits and fissures. So what do they do by doing that? They deny entry to cariogenic bacteria, and they make the tooth easy to clean by toothbrush and mastication. You can see it here. This is a deep pit, very prone to decay. So what do? We wash this area and clean it nicely. After that, we dry it, acidage it with 37% phosphoric acid for 20 seconds, wash it again, apply bonding agent, cure it, and then we fill it up with resin composite material and cure it again. And this way we mechanically seal the Pitt-and-Fisher. And the materials that can be used are cyanoacrylates, polyurethane, dimethyacrylates or glass ionomers. Next are the preventive resin restorations or PRR. Now they were developed to manage initial caries in deep pits and fissures. They were first described by Samuelson in 1978, and PRR are merely an extension of the sealant technique. Now supposing there is caries present in a part of a pit or a fissure, then what do? That particular caries area is restored with a resin restorative material, and the remaining pit and fissure is protected with a sealant. This is done along with sealing all the other pits and fissures on the occlusal surface. Now I'll explain it with a diagram. Now you can see here, this is a deep pit present. Now this pit is filled with food, bacteria, and obviously caries mechanism is happening here. Now supposing caries starts here somewhere in the base of the pit. There's initial caries lesion here. What will we do? We will excavate the caries here like this. Then this particular area, after cleaning and excavating it, we will fill it up with composite resin. And the remaining fissure will be filled up with a Pitton fissure sealant, and it would be sealed along with any other fissure which may be present on the same occlusal surface of the tooth. So these are preventive resin restorations. The third step in caries prevention are the plaque control measures. Plaque control can be defined as the removal of microbial plaque and prevention of its accumulation on the teeth and adjacent gingival tissues. Now, these plaque control measures play an important role in the prevention of dental caries. Their main role is to prevent plaque initiation and its build-up on the tooth surface. Coming to the plaque control methods, now they are of two types. The first one is the mechanical method. Now they remove the plaque mechanically from the tooth surface. The second one are the chemical methods. Now these are chemicals which prevent the plaque built up on the tooth surface. The mechanical methods, they include toothbrushing, dentrifices, use of dental floss, interdental cleaning devices, mouth rinsing, and dental prophylaxis. We'll do each one in details. Coming to toothbrushing. Now we all know when we brush our teeth, we are mechanically removing plaque and food debris from our tooth surfaces. Also, during the process of toothbrushing, the gingiva, it gets atraumatically stimulated. And then there are different techniques to brush the teeth, like the Bass method, Stillman technique, Charter technique, Roll technique, Phones technique. You can use any of these, but they have to be used correctly, else they would damage the teeth or the gingiva. Then dentrifices. Now the main purpose of dentrifices is to clean and polish the tooth surfaces. They are mostly used as paste, although powders and gels are also available. Then next are the dental floss. Now dental floss, you can see it is a thin nylon thread, multifilament nylon thread. It is used to pass between the teeth, that means in the interdental area, in order to clean the proximal surfaces. Next are the interdental cleaning devices. Here we'll first talk of the oral irrigators. Now what do oral irrigators do? These devices work by directing a high pressure stream of water through a nozzle on the tooth surface. You can see it here. They effectively remove debris from difficult to clean areas like around the orthodontic appliances or around fixed prostheses. So we use them. Interdental brushes. Now these are the different types of interdental brushes. You can see it in this picture. They mechanically remove the plaque or the food debris lodged in between the teeth in the interdental areas. Mouthwashes. Now they are used for rinsing the mouth, for mechanically dislodging gross debris or food from the oral cavity. Next is the dental prophylaxis. Now in this, professional help is taken to remove plaque and calculus deposits from the teeth surfaces. So these are the different mechanical aids that we can use to remove the plaque from the tooth surfaces. Coming to chemical methods. A wide variety of chemical substances have been proposed for plaque control, and they include bis-biguanides like chlorhexidine, elexidine, halogens like iodides and fluorides, urea and other ammonium compounds, antibiotics like penicillin, erythromycin, kanamycin, and experimental studies on vitamin K and sarcoside are being done. Now all these chemicals, they are being used to prevent plaque built up onto the tooth surfaces. Well, the final step in caries preventive program is diet modification. Now this consists of two aspects. The first one is diet control, which means that you reduce the intake of food that promotes caries production. The second is use of sugar substitutes instead of sucrose to overcome the damaging effect of sucrose, which promote the formation of cariogenic plaque. A patient should be educated and motivated in such a manner that he controls his diet by reducing the in-between meal snacking, by reducing the intake of sticky food. Now these foods, they stick to the teeth, and longer they stay in the mouth against the tooth surfaces, more cariogenic they prove to be. Then reducing the intake of sugary food. Longer the sugary food stays in the mouth, more is the caries activity observed. And increasing the intake of fibrous food, because these fibrous food, they exhibit a natural cleansing effect on the teeth. So if a patient controls his diet by following the above points, definitely there will be a reduction in the cariogenic bacteria that is produced in the mouth. Sugar substitutes, they are of two types. Caloric sweeteners, which are usually carbohydrates, they are equally or less sweet than sugar. Examples are xylitol and sorbitol. The non-caloric sweeteners, they are substances of natural or synthetic origin. They taste much sweeter than sugar by weight, and for example, saccharin and aspartame. Coming to the recent advances on the caries prevention program. Now, very interesting probabilities are being explored and new strategies are being developed to prevent and treat dental caries. They include the first one being karyogram. Now, what is karyogram? It is a computer-based risk assessment model for caries. It gives the caries risk profile of an individual. So that way, a person can assess himself whether he is a high risk case, a moderate risk case, or a low risk case. Then next is immunization. It involves the caries vaccine. Now, what is caries vaccine? It is basically a protein antigen designed to immunize against the development of dental caries. It is directed against Streptococcus mutans bacteria. Then there are genetic modifications in the form of replacement therapy. Now you see, a dominant acid produced by Streptococcus mutant is lactic acid, and it is done by the enzyme lactate dehydrogenase. So in this theory, it sought to replacement of the gene producing this particular enzyme with another gene, and it helped to create an isogenic mutant. Then polymeric coatings. Now it is a new technology. It tends to increase the tooth's resistance to decay by fabricating thin polymeric coatings over the tooth crown. This would make the tooth less prone to decay. Then remineralizing agents. Now these agents were used to remineralize the tooth surface. They include agents like amorphous calcium phosphate and to improve the tooth's resistance to decay. Then lasers, they have also been used. Firstly, the carbon dioxide laser. Now it was demonstrated that carbon dioxide laser light gets absorbed on the tooth surface and the tooth mineral gets transformed into heat and forms a highly resistant ceramic-like surface. Now this tooth surface which has got altered, it is resistant to acid etch as well as initiation of caries. Then there is photodynamic therapy. Now, photodynamic therapy uses a laser wand that is believed to replace the dentist's drill in the near future. And finally, the fissurotomy system. Now, this is a new system which encourages ultra-conservative dental treatment. Now, fissurotomy burrs have been designed specifically for the purpose of treating pits and fissures. Now, in case you want to read in details about any of these points that I have covered very briefly in this presentation, you can refer to the chapter of dental caries in the textbook of operative dentistry written by me. The link is given in the description box below. You can click on that link. I hope you liked this presentation. In case you have any question, please put it in the comment section. I would like to answer that. Do like this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel. Also check out the videos on occlusion and other videos on dental caries. Thank you so much.